Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In today's video I'd like to take a look at the NQ and look at some nice trade setups we had unfold yesterday, which was on the 8th of December. But before I start, I just want to remind you all of what I call the cyclical nature of trading. In other words, we're only looking to do trades when the pattern's clear, and it isn't clear all the time. The market goes through cycles. So for example, we had some nice setups here yesterday, but if I scroll back to the day before, it wasn't quite so nice. And as I'll show in a minute, the higher time frame picture wasn't that clear. So you don't expect to have a clear pattern and therefore be able to trade all the time. This is a mistake many amateur traders make, is they expect technical analysis to be able to forecast the market 100% of the time. There's nothing further from the truth. You should anticipate only about half the time, have a clear picture, and within that good half you then wait for the good setups. So with that in mind, let's have a look at the NQ. Now, for you guys who've been following my videos for a while will know that we no longer use our STF indicator here for our large degree trend. We go to our higher time frame charts. So let's have a look at how these two buy setups would have unfolded in respect to the higher time frame charts. For this we use a time frame between 3 and 5 time frames higher. So if you, for example, if you're trading a daily chart, you'd use the weekly. 15-minute forex, you'd use the hourly. Because this is a 3-minute chart, we're now going to use the 15-minute chart. So let's have a look at what the 15-minute chart did. Well, as you can see, the market came down, and after the open yesterday, which was the 8th of December, it printed a TS3 buy setup. In other words, this was an ABC pattern. If I do the Elliott wave intermediate, you can see it was actually an ABC with the low of the day yesterday at the typical wave CWPT. So this would indicate the large degree trend is now up, because this is a wave C. We're now anticipating a rally up into new highs. Ideally, eventually up into the DP from at least the high there, but obviously that's a long way away. So large degree trend is up on the 15-minute chart. Let's have a look at where the initial resistance would be. Well, as the market is rallying up, the initial resistance would be the DP of the prior swing high, which was here, because that's the last swing into the low. So we right mouse click over this particular pivot, which also happens to be the wave B. That would be our initial target. Remember, this is on the chart in advance, so as soon as this TS3 buy setup has come in and the market starts to rally, you can place this target on the chart, and that gives you an area in advance of where you anticipate the market's going to go to. And as you can see, we got within literally a tick excuse me, within literally a tick or two of this particular target as the market rallied. So let's now go back to our 3-minute chart and have a look at our two buy setups in that context. Well, first and foremost, this DP buy setup here, as you can see, it was against a red STF, because our STF is slow in changing trend like any other indicator. But as we've seen, once the market got into around this area here, the 15-minute chart had confirmed a TS3 buy setup at a wave C low. So therefore the large degree trend is up. Therefore this DP buy setup would be a good one to take. Place the analysis on. Into the first target would be a potential 3.7 hour profit. If you look to trail using the ATR stop, that could have possibly increased to plus 6.4 hour. But nevertheless, it was a good trade to take, and once it got to the first target, you could then have a look at some management options. Another thing, you might well have thought that because this was a major low on the 15-minute chart, you might well have said, well, actually, what I want to look at is where's the wave 3 rally. This is the power of MTPredictor. It's a tool set that allows you to place analysis on the chart and get areas where the markets are likely to find support and resistance. In this case, this would be the typical wave 3 WPT. So if this was a wave 2, this would be the area where the market is logically going to go to. So you could use that for a target rather than the initial DP, and that would increase your profit to 5.7 R. So as you can see, it's a tool set that allows you to evaluate and manage trades, and all in relation to our position sizing, where we keep the initial risk under control by varying our number of lots, contracts or shares. And when we go to our profit targets, we always look at profit targets in relation to initial risk. That's what we mean by R units. Good example of this is on our TS3 buy setup here. Another reason why I like this is if we go to our volume, can you see how the bar before, this one here, was a VS bar on our volume that indicated that there was something going on with the volume. Because it failed to follow through below this low, reversed the next bar, which is also our tier 3 buy setup, that said that professionals were coming in and likely to move the market higher. So that's what I mean by using MTPredictor as a tool set, because with your understanding of how to use the software and other things like volume, which is what we teach in our training webinars, you can add to your knowledge and confidence in the trade setups. So let's place the analysis on here. Now the initial target, you can see if I zoom in a bit, was right the way up here at a plus 8.3R, which is a very, very big profit. But to get there, it had to get through our 15-minute resistance, which I put on the chart earlier. So for you guys who are a little bit more conservative, you might have looked at this and said, well, as the market is rallying here, you're now within literally a tick or two of that higher time frame resistance. You're sitting on over 6R profits. You might well say, actually, I'm just going to trail one tick below the bar lows and lock in about 5.6R, and that's what you would have taken. You could have also looked at the pattern going up into here. If we right mouse click on this high, Elliott wave intermediate, can you see how the software has found this is a 1, 2, 3, and the market had already reached the typical wave 3 WPT, which is what I used back here on this first setup. So with your knowledge of Elliott wave or our isolation approach to Elliott wave, at the very least the market was going to make a decline here and then possibly make a new wave 5 high up into the targets up here, but you had a choice. You knew that a decline was likely to unfold. You knew, because of the cyclical nature of trading, that sometimes the patterns fall down, particularly in traditional Elliott wave analysis, and as you see in this case, the wave 4 and the wave 5 never materialized. So you had the choice at this particular point in time to know that a decline was likely, so therefore did you want to lock in 5.6R profit. Again, that's why we use our risk reward tool here, and we look at profits not in pure dollars, but how good they are in relation to the initial risk. That's what defines a good profit, not the dollars, but how big it is in relation to the initial risk. And this at plus 5.6R was a pretty good profit as a one to actually lock in, particularly as you were very close to the 15-minute resistance here, which again, when this was on the chart in advance, so you knew that as the market was rallying up here, this was an area that the market was likely to find resistance in. So can you see how you can start to use the tools in MTPredictor to be able to not only find the large degree trend direction, which is what we looked at on the 15-minute chart, to gauge which direction you should be trading in. We understand that that pattern is only clear about half the time, because that's just the way the markets unfold. That's the cyclical nature of trading. So when you get a clear pattern, particularly on the higher time frame, and you know which direction to trade in, you can then come down to the shorter time frame charts and then take your trades in that direction. You can then evaluate them and manage them as they go, and also look at other factors. For example, in this case, our volume VS setup, as we had here, which indicated that professionals were coming in to move the market higher at this particular tier 3 setup. There's our volume spike coming in here, so that will give you added confidence in that particular trade, and as you can see, adjust the initial management of this particular trade as the market gets up into this level, using not only the Elliott wave pattern going up into here, but also your higher time frame resistance. So as you can see, MTPredictor is not just an automatic system that should be followed blindly. It's a tool set that allows you to find and then manage your trades. And as you can see, we would have had a couple of very good trades there on the NQ yesterday. One from down there, and this TS3 buy set up into here. So a good day for MTPredictor using the tool set in the software.